Okay, so I'm Criss. I'm a certified financial planner. CFPs basically go through a 3-year course study to get the designation. It's got about a 50% pass rate, and we study investment management, retirement planning, insurance, estate planning, and ethics.
Sexy hunk right here.
Yeah. Hi. What's your name?
Sexy hunk.
Sexy hunk, huh?
Sexy hunk.
Yeah. That's what I go by.
I like it.
Hi.
Hi. What's your name?
James.
James. I'm Allie.
Hi, Allie.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Kelsey.
What are you studying?
Oh, a whole lot of nothing.
A whole lot of nothing?
Yeah, no, I'm studying engineering and science.
Engineering and science. Cool. What do you want to do?
Yeah, oh, nothing. Yeah.
You're funny too. It's
No,
a rare
I
quality in
really
an engineer,
don't
actually.
wanna do anything. I really don't like be at home and work on my yard and I don't know, grow plants.
Basically, he wanted to go to Evergreen.
And he's
You-
retired from the military too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
Cool.
yeah, we'll figure it out what I want to do.
Okay. All right. Well, I was just going.
Is it just a surprise?
So what,
It's gonna be a surprise.
What did I sit down at?
No, she started.
We're just talking about being a certified financial planner.
So what's the difference between the CFP and CFA?
So the CFP is comprehensive financial planning. So investment is one piece. The certified financial analyst is all investment analysis.
Okay.
So in our field, so we're an independent registered investment advisory firm. So what that means is that we basically are an avenue for individuals mostly to invest their money in the stock market. A CFP might say, okay, like you retired from the military, you have these medical benefits, you got this much disability benefits from when you retired. You're going to need to save X amount per year to be able to completely stop working at this age and have this amount of money per year. So a CFP might work through a complex planning strategy, while a CFA might say, okay, Microsoft's PE is this, and I'm looking at their balance sheet, and they have this much excess cash flow, and they have this much debt, and so I think Microsoft's a good purchase. So a CFA is going to get into the investment side, while the planner is going to discuss your individual situation and get in on the planning side.
Right.
So it's definitely two different career fields.
So a CFA is essentially the person who manages the portfolio.
Sure, and CFPs manage portfolios as well, but typically speaking, a lot of CFPs will do mutual fund portfolios based on asset allocation. Based on rebalancing back to a pie. They're not really getting into intrinsic analysis into individual security. So we do basically the comprehensive planning side. We're one of the largest independent investment firms in Tacoma. And so we have 13 people, and we manage $350 million currently. And so we started at zero in 1981, and it's kind of built up since then. Yay!
That's awesome.
And we're a mom and pop, so we're an S corp in the state of Washington. A little backstory. Let's see if we got. Okay, so how I got here is my aunt started this business out of the back of her house in '81, and she was a high school and college business teacher. And she taught a class called Financial Insights at UW, UPS, Seattle Pacific, and in Hawaii. And from that, she had a lot of teachers that were like, I don't understand the teacher's retirement system. I don't understand how this works. I don't understand how to invest. And so she kind of was doing consulting on the side to help out all these people, and it backdoored into her doing investment management. And back then, investments were written down on a piece of paper. So if you bought 5 shares of Microsoft, Dorothy would log 5 sale Microsoft and phone call it into somewhere to place the sale for you. It was very manual.
Piece of paper too.
Yeah, and you had all of that back then. And so she started with one person and then ended up by the mid-90s had 2 advisors. I started working there when I was 11 with a minor work permit in the state of Washington, which you used to be able to have, filing. And you used to be able to do that.
For you.
But yeah, and my background was a little more humble. My aunt started this business, but my mom was a single parent. And we were pretty poor. We actually, for a few years of my life, shared a bed together, and it was very much this was not my career path. I was more going in the I'm gonna go smoke a bunch of pot and, probably not end up doing anything successful with my life. But I was given the opportunity to work at my aunt's business, and it was kind of a godsend to be able to do that. So kind of when I was 16, I moved out of the house just because family life was difficult. Had a full-time job, did TCC running Start, and started doing janitorial at Financial Insights and cleaned the bathrooms and did all of that. Interned there in college, and then when I graduated college, I started working at the front desk. That was about 10 years ago. And from that, I kind of moved towards getting the Certified Financial Planner designation, which is what Dorothy had, and at the time, what one of the other advisors had. And at this point, we had 6 people, about 90 million under management, and we're kind of starting to grow about 10 years ago. I moved in right during the 2008 recession. I fielded phone calls with people getting scared about wanting to sell out of their portfolios. That was my introduction to financial services, was the Great Recession. So that was quite the intro. And then kind of just went into what is the CFP? And for those of you, do you guys ever heard of this Certified Financial Planner? Do you know what it is?
I think USAA, USA has them, I think.
USA does have them.
Yeah.
I went through the CFP course with a bunch of people from
good.
USA.
Okay, I want to make sure. Yeah, so I do use them at USAA.
Hey, USAA is really awesome because they will train, you actually have financial advisors through USAA, which is great. And they'll do all your planning for you, like what I said. But as for females in this field, if we go, I'm going to go past a couple here. So this is a male-dominated field, as you were saying, for most of financial services. Let's see if I can get past this. That's me when I was a kid.
Love the hair.
Me and my mom, 1980s. Check it out. You like the 1980s shirt?
I kind of want that sort.
Oh, the 80s. Okay. In the state of Washington, just to give you some scope as to how prevalent the CFP is, we only have 1,691 CFPs, so not very many, with a 50% pass rate, and you need 3 years working in the industry to get it. It's hard to obtain, and also there's not a lot of education and people going into this field. And of those 1,691, only 23% are women.
Do you have
So.
to have prior financial education in order?
Yeah, so I started at the front desk, then I started pair planning and doing paperwork. And while I was pair planning, I got my 3-year service requirement. So you need 3 years of advising in order to be a CFP, and you need a 4-year college degree now. So once you get your 3 years requirement and your 4-year degree, then you can sit for the test and be sponsored by wherever you work. You can go in, USAA is an avenue to go in and get your CFP. A lot of banks are sponsoring CFPs, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, and then companies like ours, we're kind of the boutique-y, small, independently owned firms, also will sponsor people to take this test. We are in dire need of CFPs right now. We don't have any, we need more. UW Tacoma doesn't offer a program. UW Seattle doesn't offer a training program. The people that are CFPs in Washington have either been sponsored by their company or they've gone online and done it themselves. We have relatively no females, of 388 in the state of Washington. I'm one of them. There's not that many. There's probably thousands of CPAs and only 388 female CFPs.
What do you think contributes to that?
I don't think that women, the study that I brought about women in planning will actually tell why a lot of women don't go into planning. And basically, they're worried about work-life balance. Becoming a CFP is an entrepreneurial job. This is not a career field for someone that doesn't have networking skills, who doesn't want to go out and build their own business. So women tend to be more risk adverse. So they don't want to take the risk on to build their own business. And I don't want to, obviously that doesn't apply to me, but the work-life balance, not wanting to take the risk, and not knowing anything about it. Most people in here don't know what the CFP is. So females and males don't even know it's even a career field. I didn't. And my family owned a practice. So I just don't think people wake up one day in college and say, oh, I want to be a CFP. It's just not something that you learn about. But it is one of the most rewarding, both financially and individually, things that I think you can do, and there's a need. So baby boomers is one of the largest generations that has ever happened in recent history, followed now by us, the millennials, and all the baby boomers who have created all these CFP businesses are retiring. Well, who's taking over their clientele and their jobs? I don't know. We don't have the CFPs. In the city of Tacoma, I'm one of maybe 3 CFPs that I know that are female. Of the other males I know, they all are jobs, maybe in the corporate world, but there's not like there's a lot of young 30s and 40s running around wanting these jobs. There's nobody to fill the positions. which is why merger and acquisitions has become so prevalent. And we did an M&A 3 years ago because now we're having to combine these firms together because we have so few advisors to service the practices. And the baby boomers want out. They're in their 60s and 70s, they want to retire, but they don't just want to sell their business to Bank of America because they've built relationships with these people for 30 years. They want to give it to somebody who's going to treat their clients the same way that they've been treating them for 30 years. And where do we find those people? I don't know.
So have you thought about, on what you want to do about that? Like, do you have any ideas about how to, recruit more people into this?
So we're doing it in-house, and it's a hit or miss in-house because you need drive, you have to be willing to work for it, and you need to be willing to go out into your community and build relationships. Not everyone wants that kind of job. So like Kelsey, for example, works in our office. I think that she's interested in the CFP, and so we'll support her to move forward and do the program someday when she's ready to do that. And that's what a lot of the firms are doing, are having to basically create their own. But what you're lacking when you create your own is experience, because they're going to learn from where they've worked, but they're not going to have outside experience. And so that's why the CFP board is creating initiatives to get younger people and more involved. And but you're seeing ads on TV about the CFP now because we want people to start learning about it to try to do it, because we are having an issue with getting people in. It's kind of what's happening currently. And these are the areas that the CFP covers. So when you take your test, it's over 2 days, and you are learning investment, retirement planning, insurance, taxes, and estate planning. So when a client comes to me, I'm asking them questions about their entire life. I invest their money, but I want to know, do you have your wills and powers of attorney done? Yes or no? What does your insurance plan look like? What does your taxes look like? What decisions are we going to make to better your taxes? Is there certain things we can do to lower your tax liability? And then the retirement planning piece, and then also we get into a little bit of education, children's education for college. People want to remodel their houses. They want to retire to California. They want to be snowbirds. Everyone's life looks different. And so you get to be kind of a life builder. I see so many different, married people, unmarried people, gay couples, all different types of people who come in, and they all have different needs and goals. So the job's always changing. You get to know and get to learn so much about so many different types of people, and you really get to feel like you help people through working through all this. It's not just strictly, I'm going to make you 7% on your assets. That's a big part of it, but you get involved in a lot of other things as well.
Can you make me 7%?
We also can't guarantee returns. That's a really big thing. The SEC does not like you guaranteed performance returns. People get in a lot of trouble for that. And this industry too has been so marred with a lot of the Lehman Brothers and a lot of things that have happened with people doing unethical things, that a lot of us are trying to strive to create, get the ethics back and integrity back. And not every financial advisor is out to take your money or out to just get for gain. I mean, in all honesty, we try to run our practice to where, if we're completely honest with you, i.e. you're a great example. If I have a military person come in and they are working with the CFP at USA for free, I'm not going to tell them to move their money with me. Because you have a great setup. That's fiduciary. I'm going to do what's in your best interest, not what's in mine. And that's what we're trying to establish now. And there's some Department of Labor laws that are about to come out that are trying to establish what's called a fiduciary standard. So no matter who comes into my office, I'm always doing what's in your best interest, even if it doesn't benefit me. So you're going to be able to go to sleep at night knowing that I'm really helping you. And therefore, you're building the relationship. Now, are you going to go tell your friend to come see me because I told you to go do what's right for you? Yes. So the business grows by ethics, not by how a lot of people have done it in the past, which is by taking people's money and trying to move every account they can over and just trying to look out for me. Well, that's not the way to grow your practice. And that goes for any entrepreneurship business. The way to grow your business, whether it be financial services or something to do with trash, I didn't totally get exactly what you're doing, but it is ethics. If you're honest and someone trusts what you do and why you do it, well, you're going to get all the business that you need and want. You don't need to scheme people to do well.
I'm kind of glad you're saying that, because a lot of times it's not about the quick buck.
Right.
Sometimes you have to give something before you receive
Yeah.
something back.
You have to
And
build.
The relationship, especially in Tacoma, is really, really critical.
It is.
Because, be careful who you talk about in Tacoma, Criss County, because it might be related somehow.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Relationships are key, especially in this size of town. And it takes time to build. I mean, there's a slide later that shows all the things that I've done, and we'll get to it, but I mean, I'm involved in probably 15 different organizations, and I've been doing that for 10 years. It took me 3 or 4 years before I built enough of a name and a reputation and relationships before I started seeing the results of those clients walking through the door. And that's just a drive that you need to have, and know that I'm not just gonna walk out, put an ad in the newspaper, and then a week later have a $300 million practice. It's not gonna happen. It's gonna take time, and you're gonna have to walk through it, and you're gonna have to struggle, and you're gonna have to fail a million times, and you're finally gonna get the fruits of your labor through building these great relationships. I mean, I meet you, 2 years from now, you might remember me if I treated you well and I was nice to you, and then same with you. And all of a sudden you're building this intricate network of relationships over time, especially in a business community of this size. So this is back on the women's side. Actually, it's funny to your question. These are the reasons why women don't go in. Lack awareness of financial planning and how to get the CFP. People have misinterpretations about the profession, reluctance to take risks. And then there's a lot of gender discrimination and bias. And there's not any females in here other than Kelsey, but I can tell you that when I first started in the career, I look really young and I'm a female, really bad in any sort of business, right? How are you gonna trust me?
Right.
I struggled with that.
Yeah.
And with anyone who's young starting business, you're gonna struggle with just being young. And how do you get through that perception of when you walk up to someone, how are they gonna think your business is legitimate? And the only way that I've found to get through that now is confidence. And you know you're smart, and you know what you're gonna do. And the people that aren't gonna trust you, believe you don't want them as clients anyway. You're gonna be honest, you're gonna build relationships, you're gonna do what you know you do, and that you're not gonna get everybody at first, and not everyone's gonna trust you. And you don't wanna fight for someone's trust. So you just kind of let go of all the anxiety around that. I walk into a room, I'm gonna say my piece, I'm gonna be who I am, and if he doesn't, trust or believe me, that's fine. Not everybody will. And therefore, all the anxiety you have about that is gone. You just move forward. And there's a lot of that on the gender side. On any given day, if I walk into a room talking about financial planning, I'm the only woman there. And this is more on that. This is how I felt when I got in the industry. I felt like I had to act like a lady, because you can't be a bulldog like a man for whatever reason as a female in business. Don't know why, because you're considered a bitch, okay? You have to think like a man, so I still have to run my business like a man, and I have to work like a boss, which means I can't be a friend to Kelsey, I have to be more of a boss. These are all the principles I struggled with. I don't believe in this. I don't think this is the way. I think you need to be true to who you are no matter what, and just trust yourself, and through that, all of this goes away. I don't think you gotta tie yourself to labels on I need to be a woman or I need to think like a whatever. You just have to trust you and trust what you're doing, and the rest of this falls into place. I think when you start going through your studies, you focus way too much on a lot of this stuff. So this business is solely based on relationships. So when you're an individual financial planner, you're getting clients based on who knows you and who's walking through your door. I'm not a corporation, so I'm not getting people fed to me from any avenue. I'm building relationships with a current client base, and then I'm involved in all of these organizations. Currently, these are my current lists, that basically gets me in touch with a lot of people in Tacoma. So I'm in Rotary, which is a small business organization that helps me get in touch with other small business owners. Grand Cinema, I love movies, so I'm involved in some things I love to do. I get to work on finance there, which is awesome. A lot of things that are based on whatever industry you go into, there's gonna be different organizations that are gonna be akin to what you're doing. So Planned Giving, we're into a lot of philanthropy. So between that and the Estate Planning Council, I get to hook up with CPAs and estate planning attorneys, great referral sources for this kind of work. And then Emergency Food Network. Our firm's been involved with them since the 80s. Anyways, that kind of speaks for itself. I'm not going too much into that. Oh, so I play a lot of tennis, and so I got roped into planning this yearly event for CF that's around tennis. I find that if you go with what you love, like if you like to ride dirt bikes and there's something like dirt bike rally to support, the American Heart Association, you're gonna love doing that event because you like dirt bikes, and then you get to support something cool while you do it. I mean, you'll find those, little niches that fit what your love is. And you can tie your personal passions to your business. And then when you seem excited about something, it's genuine. Versus I'm gonna join this organization I don't care about just to do it. That doesn't work. I was gonna tell this one story about a client just to show you kind of the sort of people that we deal with. So most business is talked about in a corporate sense. This is not a corporate type business. I'm dealing with people in their lives and their feelings. And let's say this is your grandma. I had a woman come in who I pretty much had never seen. Her man had run the finances their whole life. He died with accounts all over the place. She comes in devastated, crying, no idea where anything's at, needs to pay all these bills. Well, who's helping this person? The CFP is who basically navigates all of this for this woman. I went through 4 meetings with this woman, figuring out where their accounts are, getting life insurance paid out, conference calling all these places together, dealing with the will, finding her an attorney to probate everything. And I'm the hand holder, and this woman's devastated while this is happening. So this is a relationship business. That woman will never leave me. Her kids will never leave me because I met them through all of that, and I was able to impact a life. Now, there's not a lot of other career fields that let you feel that way, in finance at least. So this kind of bridges the gap, I think, between quantitative and qualitative in the finance industry. I don't know if that was helpful or not, but all right. I geared this all towards women.
No, that's perfect.
I think it's better.
Is it?
I think it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, because it's like we hear about men all the time. We don't get to hear women's perspectives.
Okay.
So this is I like to learn.
Awesome. Okay. Well, one of the biggest concerns for women is work-life balance, and it is for men too. When you go to find your job, you are probably going to be concerned about how much FTO you have, how much vacation do I get, how am I going to be able to continue to do the things I love? And women are concerned with, okay, I want to plan a family. I have to have babies. How am I going to do this and run a practice? It's seemingly impossible. If we can learn anything from Melanie Dressel, who is the CEO of Columbia Bank, she did it, and if she can do it, I can do it, and so can anyone else too. And this field is great for that. I called a friend of mine last week on the phone, and he was in Hawaii. I said, oh, you're in Hawaii, that's really cool. This is a guy who works for a venture capital startup company in San Francisco. He's a scientist, somebody I really respect. And he said, I said, are you in Hawaii for work or for fun? He goes, is there a difference? I thought on that. I was like, wow.
For some people.
I said, maybe for you. But then I thought about it even more, and I said, that's a perspective. I was like, when your work is what you like to do for fun, there is no difference. When I go to a conference in Atlanta to go to the Financial Planning Association conference, I'm having a blast. So if you switch your perspective into what I'm doing is fun, my whole life is fun, well, your business is going to flourish because you're going to have the energy that shows that. So him saying that to me really impacted me for whatever reason.
Brought about something happened to me. Because there is a balance of what you're saying. Because from a man's point of view, we're considered a breadwinner and all that. When
Right.
I was working for Goldman, I was on the beach with my family and I was doing the deal. And basically my wife took a picture of me and developed it and threw it at me after the vacation.
I bet.
She says, this is what you're doing to your family.
Wow.
So basically, my marriage was falling apart. because
Right.
I was more focused on the fun or on work. And, as you know, it's in the financial, it's about the hunt and the kill.
Yep.
It's like, that's when you take a deal and finally you're in the boardroom and you got all these files of papers ready to sign to execute the M&A. You're like, yeah, that's the kill.
Right.
It was fun for me, but not for them.
Right.
So there's a balance.
There is.
I
Well,
get what you're
I
saying.
find with business for me that there's this obsession with needing to check your email all the time. There's obsession with feeling like you need to look like you're working. Baby boomers are notorious for the more hours you work,
Yes.
the more amazing you are. Well, I throw that out the window. I call BS on that. I'm going to tell you that that's the baby boomers, but we are becoming so efficient with technology and software and the way that we're thinking and working in teams. Not to say you don't need to work a lot of hours, but you'll find that mentality is not necessary. So if I buy internet, I used to buy internet on every single flight I took and check my emails. $9, $15 to buy internet, I'm checking my emails. I decided recently to stop doing that and see if that's really impacting the office. It's not. Me not checking those 3 emails for $15 while I'm flying is not making a difference, meaning all the time that I was spending emailing and talking, I actually didn't need to. You can actually have more focused time during the day and still be able to work-life balance and still be just as productive as you were before. It's that mentality where you think you need to work all the time, which was making people do that, in my opinion. Because I've worked 60-hour work weeks and I've worked 30-hour work weeks, and honestly, I don't see a huge difference. And I know that's not gonna be a popular opinion. When you're first starting your business, I will say you need to work 60 hours a week, but you don't. So this was me this weekend. I'm a skydiver. So work-life balance, I'm not checking my emails while I'm jumping out of a plane. This job has afforded me the ability to be able to go skydive. I do world record skydiving. I have a wonderful work-life balance, and I'm still able to run a successful practice. Now, granted, first 3 years in the business, I would say that I wasn't doing this as much, but as you get more momentum, you're able to do things you really like. I kind of wanted to go into, this is all work-life balance stuff. So figuring out where your career and life align means you don't have this mentality of work-life balance. I think that the idea of work-life balance makes you feel like there's a moment when you leave work and it's over, and there's a moment when your fun starts. And I don't think about life that way. Every moment is fun, from the moment I go to work till the moment I come home. And I just want to know what my life purpose is. And so this was mine, and everyone should have one to figure out where your career and your life align. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, then you need this alignment between career and life. Your passion of what you're doing for your entrepreneurship startup needs to align with where you want your life to go. It is not two separate entities. You are not a 9-to-5 worker. You are not starting a job. You are starting a life where your work is an intrinsic part of it.
I'm so glad you're saying that.
Yeah.
It's so true.
And if it doesn't, you're gonna, I don't want to say you're gonna fail, but you might fail. If your work life, mission statement is not aligned, if the business that you're running is just for money, you might fail.
Or you're gonna burn out.
Yeah, you're gonna fail, because the thing is your passion needs to be where your business is. And if it's not, you need to find a different business to run, in my opinion. So this is my life purpose right now. It changes, but I want to run a financial services company. I want to run it like a startup. I want it to be exciting. I want the business to be innovating, because right now with technology, in 2 years' time, the technology that has progressed has been more than we've seen in 50 years. We are having a technology boom. So we need to be innovating. Mature businesses need to be innovating, or they're going to die. So I want us to innovate. I think that we're moving towards a really team-based environment, so I want to build a happy, thriving team. I want to innovate and adapt to changes that are happening in not only our industry, but any industries that impact ours. And I want to strive to help others and make an impact on the clients we serve. That's important, because money is not my focus. Money comes when your focus is helping others for me. That's what I try to train people on. You will get money and good salary if you keep the client's interest first. I don't want to see it the other way around, or you don't belong in my firm. It is, the money comes when your passion is right.
Do you have a coach or a mentor that helps you?
I do, yeah. And I think everybody needs a mentor, multiple mentors. Yeah.
So how do you find the mentors that you want to have?
So for financial services, for me, it was nice to have one that was in financial services doing what I was doing, but also I have a couple that are outside of that career field. And I met them through just all of the networking that you do. When you start getting involved, you meet them. I don't have a specific place. Yeah?
I've just kind of, every successful entrepreneur that's came and talked is always talking about having a really positive team, a positive workplace. And I feel like anyone can say, I want to build a happy, thriving team.
Right.
And I want to have everybody, work their ass off to make money
Yep.
and all of these things. I was just wondering, do you have any kind of suggestions on how to really push forward and make it a thing where it's like, this is a happy, thriving team?
Well, it's not going to happen overnight. So the happy, thriving team is an ideal. I would say in any business, the work is easy, the people is the hard part. Okay, I could financial plan all day long. It's the people that have been the most stressful, the most time consuming. It's getting the team together. Yeah. You got to get the right people on the bus. I know you've heard that a million times from the different books you've read, but it's not that easy. It's been a struggle. That's been one of the hardest things we've had to do, is collect a good team together. It takes time and years. It takes people leaving. It takes uncomfortable situations. It takes uncomfortable conversations. And above all, it takes communication. So you got to set the stage for who your firm is or what you do, and get the right people that are on board with that mission. And if you have anyone that's not on board with it, it's not going to work. And if you hire someone just to fill a need, but they still aren't in line with your mission, it's still not going to work. And it might not work right away, but it will not work at some point. So we have probably the best team we've ever had, and it's taken time. But we try to run it like a startup, because we have the flexibility to do that. I try to work with benefits. I want people to have work-life balance. So I have a really expansive FTO policy. People are getting 3 and 4 weeks a year for vacation. They can use it for for sick pay, et cetera. They're gonna have 401k benefits. We also have flexible work schedules. So when someone gets hired, I'm gonna say, okay, would you rather come in at 7, 8, or 9? What's better for you? Are you a morning person? Would you prefer to come in later? They get to choose their start time. And then they get to work later, earlier accordingly. They just have to get their hours in for the week. So moving towards a workplace that isn't as formulaic. I don't want people to be scared about coming in 5 minutes late for work. What I want is productive employee, happy, productive employee. If you need to get your workout in the morning and you're 15 minutes late, awesome, you got your workout in. Come on in 15 minutes late. And I think that that's where we're moving towards. If you look at the Googles and the Amazons, if you've gone into their workplace, we are moving towards a more startup vibe in the workplace, a less formulaic 9 to 5, punch the clock. We want happy people that feel like they're supported, that feel like they can go pick up their son early if they need to. If their son's sick and they need to stay home, they're not going to get fired. We got to create an environment where the most important thing is the product they're producing and not these rules.
Well, what are you finding out with the work ethics of the millennials? It seems like they're kind of up and down.
It is up and down. I think I've tried to create it in people. I think it's really hard to create work ethic. It's really hard to motivate work ethic. So I have seen it both ways. Kelsey's a millennial. She has amazing work ethic. Amazing.
She has to say that because I'm sitting here.
No. I mean, in a year, she's maybe missed 1 day of work, and she is motivated and supportive and supporting of others and very team-oriented. Not everyone is like that, and I just don't want to say it's generational. I think all the generations are kind of that way, but we've kind of just focused on millennials so much that millennials, are getting a lot of the brunt. I think any generation that's coming into the workforce is always the generation we're focusing on the most. Like X used to be that way too.
Right.
I can speak a little bit on the employee side as well. I think when you feel appreciated, there's sort of this motivation fire that's lit in you. I know Financial Insights does a lot of employee appreciation stuff. They do. I just got the opportunity to go to a conference in Florida for Raymond James, our custodian, which was, it was a 3-day conference, and it was amazing. It was a great experience for me. We do a lot of community events. Allie is always extending the invitation to go to these luncheons that we're sponsoring, and these larger EFN events and things like that where you feel really appreciated. We had a movie day a couple weeks ago, supporting Grand Cinema's 20th anniversary, and we all got to go and watch a movie all day. And it was just things like that make, I try to get as much as I can done while I'm in the office because I have a family, and I have stuff outside of work that I have to tend to. And I think that is what drives me to be as productive as I can and have a good work ethic, is because I know that I'm appreciated and that my work is appreciated. And we've got a great work-life balance. So I think there's there's a lot on the employer side. There's a lot of pressure on the employer side sometimes too, to create that drive in employees. And I think it has a lot to do with how employees are treated.
Sure.
Right.
I think if you go and you show up at a company where, the work is kind of unappreciated and, and you're not even appreciated as a person, you sort of feel like, well, why am I working hard for this company if they don't appreciate me?
Right.
So I think that from an employee standpoint.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm seeing a shift in a lot of stuff. I've been in the workforce for a while now, and I was telling somebody today that, I'm done working with assholes. I'm just done. Because, I don't need it. I don't need to be miserable for a lousy paycheck.
Well, and you can't change who somebody is.
Yeah.
You can give someone tools and say, look, you need to be more positive, you need to work harder, we're giving you a lot, but if someone's not going to be appreciative and they're a negative person, it's hard to change that.
Yeah.
And it becomes not a good fit.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I've had to coach myself on when someone's not a good fit, they're just not a good fit. It's hard. Making layoffs has been the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And you can give people the tools, you can give people the corrections, but some people just aren't the right fit for your firm, whatever it may be, just the way it is. You want to become the right fit for a firm if you really want to be there. If you feel appreciated, you're going to work hard. If you're unhappy, you probably belong somewhere else.
Sure.
You need to do some soul searching.
Right.
So what keeps you up at night as an entrepreneur?
Staffing. P&L. So, you're constantly monitoring the finances. The things that the staff doesn't see is that you're constantly monitoring your profit and your loss statements. We're monitoring them quarterly. We're looking at expenses. Since our business is correlated with what happens in the stock market, it's unique because if we have a market correction, there's been years where we've had to take out personal loans to make payroll. We're trying to hopefully that doesn't happen next market correction. We had to do that in 2008. So I don't know, trying to monitor that aspect of things, trying to pay people a reasonable salary and have benefits and do that, but also not doing that so much that we would be in dire straits if we have a correction and our income went down, and trying to strike a nice balance there. That's been something that's kept me up on some nights. And then staffing. You know, if you have a staff member that's not working out, I mean, it can suck the life out of you as an employer. It's stressful. You have people's negative energy is probably one of the hardest things I've had to deal with, which is why making the right hires and creating the right team is the most important thing. Don't make a hire just to make one. I've made that mistake, and I've learned from it, and I've had to experience that. So staffing and probably the financial. The work is easy. I mean, if you love what you do and you're good at it and you have your education, the work becomes really easy. It's the business that's hard to run.
How do you, sorry?
Yeah.
How do you really kind of figure out who the right person is without doing trial and error?
Well, you got your mission statement, right? So I'm a innovative startup that does retirement planning and wants people to put the person first. That to me is who I am. That's who we are. Well, not everyone's coming from that background. There's people that come from the corporate world that they're about the rules, they're about the money, the bottom line. Well, that's great, and there's nothing wrong with that, but might not be the best fit for my practice. I know that just based on my mission statement and them talking about what their mission statement is. So when you get your values aligned, you can weed out a lot of people. And not everyone's values are the same. And you know that from having really deep conversations during these interview processes. Mm-hmm. You interview people and you really get to know who they are. What do they like to do? Who are they as a person? What drives them? What are their goals in 5 years, 10 years? Do they align with my business 5-year, 10-year goal? You know, if someone comes in and says, I want to be an advisor next year and I want to earn this salary and I can't do that, well, I know they're not a good fit. I don't care how smart they are. They're not a good fit for what I'm looking for. So I think it's just a weeding out, talking, getting to know people. And it's very qualitative sometimes. It's not just, do you have the skills? It's, do you have the skills and do what you want as a person line up with what I want as a firm?
It sounds like what you just said. I mean, it sounds like the higher percentage is about the personality as opposed to the education. Because
Yeah.
you can teach.
You're absolutely right. You said that earlier.
Yeah, you can teach people that, but
Yeah.
if you don't get along, I mean,
You're right.
He was in the special forces, and
Okay.
it's all about team.
Yep.
You know, so.
And so is a firm like this. It is all about team, and it only takes one person to poison the pool with the team. And so you have to monitor that constantly. It keeps you up at night when you have one person that you know is, you know, doing things. And this seems like you wouldn't have to deal with this, but in a firm this size, it actually is. When you get larger, when you start having HR systems in place and it does become a little more formulaic, I don't think you're dealing with this as much as an owner. But, you know, 25 people and below, yeah, I think staffing is very important. And I think it's one of the things that keeps you up the most. And making sure that you don't have one bad seed, because in a small office, it really can make an impact to the productivity. Yeah.
Sorry, how many people total? And can you break down?
We have 14, and we have 2 offices. So we did a merger 2 years ago. So we have one office that is run by a CFP. There's actually 2 CFPs over there. And then we have 2 offices. So we're on Ruston. Our second office is on North 30th, so really close. Really both in Tacoma. In our office, we have 2 CFPs, an investment analyst, and then a support team of 5. That either we have a paraplanner, we have an investment support person, we have a front desk person, we have Kelsey who's doing everything, all hats, marketing, Facebook, you know, everything. And then the other office is very similarly structured. They have, I think, 4 advisors, 3 support staff, and then a front desk person. And in the advisory world, we're moving more towards team, but the old model was siloed. And what silo meant is that I'm the advisor, you're my assistant, here's our client base, period. And that was the way this works. Now we're working with, as we're growing, I'm the advisor, I'm the client-facing person, I'm the one out in the community. You're the advisor, you're the investment person, you're in the back doing all the investments for the clients. Maybe you come in and talk about the municipal bond strategy, but then other than that, we're gonna put your engineering brain back in the corner, you know, so you don't scare any of the clients away. And then you have people, you know, doing planning for you. So it becomes more team-oriented, I think, as you get a little bit larger, not siloed as much.
So to segue into that,
Sure.
My next question. So when you work with people and you put them in a product or like a mutual fund, whatever, I mean, do you like, oh my God, did I put in the right product?
I see what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah, I mean-
so we typically, since we don't have securities licenses and we're not with FINRA, we kind of are not product salespeople. So the word product, actually, I don't even think anyone has ever said it in our office ever. So that being off the table, sorry. But what we do is we assess risk tolerance first. So like you're 25 years old and you want to retire at 62 or let's say 65, and you are really scared of the stock market, and we basically start having these conversations on what's your level for risk. From that, it equates to us to an equity level. So if you're really young and you have a long time horizon and you're totally risk adverse, then you might have some bonds in there. Maybe you'll have 80% in the stock market and 20% in bonds, and that's how we're going to start investing. We start with risk tolerance. We equate your risk tolerance to an equity percentage, and then we try to get you basically invested based on that. So I'm not going to necessarily sell each person a different, and I don't want to say the word sell. I wouldn't exactly have each person differently. Usually it's based on your timeline to when you need to use the money, how old you are, and your feelings about risk. So I'd say most people in their 60s that are like their peers are all in what we call balance, 60% in the stock market, 40% out. It's like the most cliche 60-40 model. It's what the most cliche textbook model there is. And that still is standing up, and that's what we're using for a lot of people in that age group. And then we are mutual fund and ETF based. So a mutual fund is a basket of stocks. So if I'm looking at US stocks, I'm going to pick maybe a mutual fund that takes care of US large company stocks. And then I'm going to use that mutual fund for that piece of my pie. I'm not going to go in and buy 20 individual stocks to solidify that pie. It's all percentage based. It's not as much as I'm making a different model for each person. We have 6 models for 500 people, and it's all very scalable. When I sell out of one thing, it goes out of all the accounts at once. As we have technology, it's not like we're managing 2,000 different accounts. We're really managing 7. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I love this kind of talking.
Yeah, me too. I love it too. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, that was actually almost the end, for me. The opportunities for people that are going into this is we have the largest transfer of wealth in the history of this industry. All the baby boomers are retiring, passing away, etc. And it's all going down to the millennials. The millennials are going to service these clients, and they're going to inherit all the money. And so we have this huge opportunity with who's going to service these people, who are going to run these businesses, who's going to basically be dealing with the wealth that's transferring. We have a shortage of financial planners and advisors in the industry. Even if you aren't a CFP, you can still be a financial advisor. You can get a Series 65 or a Security 7 license and work at one of the larger corporate places. They need people as well. And here's a little bit about women. Women have strength in relationship building. I think for this type of financial planning, relationship building is key. And I think that's it. For me, everything else is just about failure. You're going to fail a million times. I'm going to end on failure.
I'm glad you said that too, because everybody has this dream that you open the door and build this, and they will come and
Nope.
live and buy yourself a nice.
It's not going to happen. This is the most rewarding thing I've ever done, but it's the hardest. And I fail a million times. I've had staff people quit. I've had to fire people. I've failed myself. And you know what? As I've gotten older, and I know I'm not that old, I'm only 32, but I learned something this year. It took me 10 years to learn it. Is that when I make a mistake or something hard is going on, instead of being anxious or nervous or feeling like it's bad, I'm welcoming it. Because if I'm struggling, I am growing as a business owner and I'm growing as a person. You should welcome the struggle, and because it is going to make you a better business owner. If you don't have any struggle, you're not going to be that much of a well-rounded business owner. You're not going to have learned from your mistakes because you never had any. Look at all these people, Jeff Bezos, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein. There's 1,000,001 quotes on failure out there, and they're all from some of the brightest people who have said, basically, you are going to fail, and so don't be scared when you do it.
Do you know the man in the arena?
No, what is that?
Avery will tell you.
Oh, please.
Avery.
Basically, it's this quote.
Don't tell me, tell him.
Tell
It's a
me.
quote about entrepreneurship and how
Okay.
What is it?
Teddy Roosevelt. I don't.
He read it at our business plan competition.
Okay.
He memorized it.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's basically a quote about being in the arena of
What is the
business.
quote?
I don't want to.
Oh, come on. Please read it. We would love that.
Read it. Read it.
Okay.
I'll read it. I don't know if I can remember
Did you
it.
memorize this
Yeah.
whole thing?
Oh, he did, he rocked it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he did a good job.
All right. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions,
That's cool.
who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls, who neither meet victory nor defeat.
Cool. That's awesome.
So
Thank you for
saying
reading that.
So that's,
Yeah.
So this is yours.
Really?
Yeah. Well, that's not yours.
Oh, it's not mine? Oh, that's hers?
But you get
I'm
this.
so excited.
But you get a hat for doing this for
Okay,
us.
perfect.
You get a
That's awesome.
hat.
Awesome. I love
You get
it.
the poster.
Okay.
And you, also,
Mind bug.
and you get the Vibe coin. You have challenge coin.
Awesome.
You understand what the Vibe challenge
Yeah.
is. Okay, so
Very
you're part
cool.
of the
Thank
Vibe
you
system
guys.
now.
Awesome.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. That was great. I
Thank
loved
you.
it.
Was it good?
Yeah.
We
Good.
improvise. We're business owners, right? You kind of made it work.
Oh, that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what
Can
you
I
do.
ask 2 more questions?
Please.
So my first question was, how did you react when your employees quit? Like, how did you?
Oh, God.
How did you kind of grow from that? You know, because I mean, I feel like if someone's to quit, I could, and I don't know what reasons what it is, but I feel like it's
I'll
kind of
tell
just
you.
like a giant.
I think,
Cheers.
and also another thing I've learned is being honest and being able to, admit your
Right.
failures is one of the most important things too. I've had the worst person quitting that was the hardest for me. Somebody who came from the broker, like a bigger corporate world, and she quit publicly in front of the whole staff.
I was there for that.
She was there.
Are you kidding?
Which is very, very hard as a business owner. Was negative about it and pointed out some flaws, some of which were actually really true about me. It was my first time I ever had someone quit, and it was, because it was my first, it might have been the hardest. And I learned from it. So when someone's saying something to you and someone's quitting, you have a tendency to want to say it's all their fault. It's not. Chances are if someone's leaving, you have some sort of stake into why they're leaving. You probably have done something that has made them want to leave, and you probably could grow from it. And it's probably you meet halfway. There's probably some things on her and some things on you. But if I've learned anything, if someone's quitting or leaving, or if I have to lay someone off, I'm going to take accountability for them leaving. I don't care if they're right or wrong. I'm always going to think it's my fault that that person's leaving. And you will learn from that. And I don't care, your ego needs to get thrown out the window right now. You should always be, in my mind, you're always wrong, every time. So she's leaving, she's saying you did X, Y, Z. I'm gonna go home and ruminate on that. And I'm gonna think, God, did I do X, Y, Z? Well, if I did, tomorrow's a new day. I'm gonna work on not doing X, Y, Z. And I'm not gonna fail. It's hard, but you're gonna work through it and it's gonna make you a better person. So, I mean, did that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
How could you communicate with that person? Because I feel like that's a huge thing. Or unless, like,
Right.
why? How can you kind of create that atmosphere where it's like, I'm not quitting, but you're doing this thing and you're really pissing me off and you're making me want to,
So I would never say piss off to somebody. but
Right. Yeah.
But what I would say, and I deal with this a lot, if someone's you want to give people a million chances before you lay them off. And hopefully if something's going wrong, you want to analyze it before they quit. So when you figure out that something's not right, I try to talk to people one-on-one respectfully, as a human to human, not as a superior to a boss to a person. I just want to sit you down and say, you're not happy. What's going on? What's happening with you that's making you do X, Y, Z? Chances are they're going to talk to you and you can try to work through it. If there's not a solution, your answer's there and it's there in a peaceful way, right? If it's not going to work, it's going to be a peaceful conversation. It's not going to be you. I try never to reprimand people. Let's try to nip it before it gets to that. It's going to be like, you're making a lot of errors. What's going on? Is something going on at home? Like, you're coming in late, what's happening? And try to really respect them as a human and try to nip it. And sometimes that won't work. That's fine, you might fail there too. But at least if someone's left, you've given them every opportunity to make it right, to care about who they are. I had a woman leave probably 5 years ago who's going through some personal issues mentally, and I wasn't very empathetic. So I was very in business mode. I had just started, managing the business. I thought I had to act like a man. I had to be a boss. I was business. I didn't care about feelings. That's not what I'm supposed to do. And she was going through a really hard time. And I remember she cried at work, and I kind of patted her on the back, and my brain was, we don't do that here, get out. And she ended up leaving, and I wish, in retrospect, I would have been more empathetic. Had I sat her down and actually asked her what was going on and learned more, then maybe she'd still be with me. And being empathetic is really important. And I learned that lesson from that because I was too business,
And
right?
flash forward, I will
God.
say, we had an employee recently who had to put her dog down. And I have to say, my own personal, Allie was the most empathetic person. She gave her 2 days off to go spend time with her friend, paid, to go spend time with her family and to spend the last moments with her dog. One of our employees, she had a bucket list that she wanted to accomplish with her dog, and Allie was like, "Go for it, do it. That's you. Go for it." And that's a
gotta do that.
huge,
She feels valued. You got to do that.
was a huge extreme of going from someone who is too business to going to someone who is very valued, and Allie wanted to give that to her.
You learn that. I learned that though. I wasn't always like that.
Right.
And your business has to be successful enough to have the flexibility to do that.
Right.
But once it is, you don't need to. I feel like so much of the business community is so tied up in the perception of who you are, right? I'm someone who wears a suit every day. I manage 13 people. I'm important, and I'm going to go through my whole day being important. And, that sounds stressful, man. That sounds like a lot of anxiety, and that sounds like when something goes wrong, you're going to freak out. That's not the life I want. And you know what? As a millennial business owner, we don't need to do that. The industry's changing. We don't need to be like that anymore.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, at Vive, I always tell people, ego is not your amigo here.
I like it. I like it.
Because there's a lot of things that I know, and there's a lot of things you know, but we all can collaborate
You're absolutely right.
together. And the funny thing you said that, I learned this the hard way too, from all the years in business, is that people don't quit their jobs. They quit on leadership. Leadership
Yeah.
is, I was the same way.
Right.
I have mentors, and I said, why the hell did they quit my division?
Yeah.
I'm the best
I'm doing
boss."
so well.
Yeah.
Blah, yeah.
It
Got to
was
throw
me.
it out.
It
Yeah.
was me. So finding out, he goes, you're too much of a driver. Because you drive. You want that number.
Yep.
So, and it was me. I learned. I like you, I learned.
Yeah, you got to learn. And yeah, I've learned acceptance is I got to accept people for who they are. Not everyone's going to be like me. And you know what? That's actually okay. You don't want a firm with a bunch of people that look exactly like
Right.
you. There are people that will annoy you, and they're going to have things that you don't like, and you just have to accept them because it takes all different types of people. And that's been another thing I've learned that's been really important.
We have a Hummer in our office that is just
Yeah.
the best, but you have to learn
Yep.
to love his quirks.
Accepting.
Well, this is
Well,
awesome.
great. Cool.
Actually, this turned out to be phenomenal.
It did. This has been really good.
That's
Sure,
great.
yeah.
About when you had the merger, was there any
Yeah.
discrepancy between you and the
Good question.
business you were merging with? Because you have this
Right.
very happiness aura that you're trying to
Yeah. So I knew the owner. Thank you for that. It's a great question. I knew the owner for a long time before we decided to do it. And I think one of the most important things to consider when you're doing a merger or acquisition is that your business model is aligned. A lot of people just do it to try to make their business bigger. And I don't think that's the right reason. So the business alignment was already there. We are in a lot of the same organizations out in the community. We know each other. I don't think that he's exactly like me in my mission, but since he's going to be retiring, he's willing to offload his business into the mission. So he's on board with the mission. Back to having someone on board with what your mission vision is. He's on board with it. It might not be who he is, but he likes it and he wants it for the future for his practice. We haven't had any issues really with the merger yet, but when you start transitioning client bases, I think that's when you start having issues. You have attrition, so you're going to have clients leave. Not everyone's going to like the new mission vision, and that's just the way it's going to go down. And there are always going to be issues with multi-generations merging together. We haven't tackled that yet, but mission vision being in alignment is the most important. So you have discovery sessions. So I met with him maybe once every couple months for 2 years before we did a merger. It wasn't something we decided overnight. It was something we well thought out decision making on making sure that we were aligned. So, did that answer it? Okay, good. You're
I'm
welcome.
gonna follow up on him though.
Sure.
What's next? Is there another merger in the works? Is this something
No.
that's gonna take 5 years and gel the
Yeah,
first one?
let's
and
be
then-
smarter. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could do another one, but I don't. I think we need to make sure that all the succession planning for the exiting advisors happen first before we take on another merger. It's really easy because there's a lot of candy out there to want to just keep doing M&A, but I just don't think it's good for the business structure unless you have it gelled. So until we know what our attrition is and what happens when the owners actually leave from the planning process, the succession planning process, I don't think that we're going to do anything like that. So right now we're kind of in a relationship building mode. So you have to build relationships with all the people you merged with in any kind of industry. So it's just about getting to know people, learning who they are, getting them to trust you. And so that's kind of where we're at right now, is building, relationship building. Yeah.
My very first job at the Marine Corps back in 1990 was as an investment advisor.
Really?
I was,
Okay.
I was the youngest kid
Yeah.
in the room that we had a firm that was 17 people.
Okay, so similar size.
So it's real similar. Not as much concentrated wealth. I mean, the numbers
Right.
weren't the same. But some of our clients were extraordinarily wealthy. And the CFP thing had only just come online, just
Okay.
in that same era.
Right.
And so my boss, who was a high school teacher, how he started it, started the firm. I just found a lot of interesting parallels there. But he died very unexpectedly, and then the firm just imploded. Everybody kind of went in their own direction. I had already left at that point to go on
Okay.
to school, but it was fascinating.
It is.
And being a really young guy in an environment with a lot of older guys, I could see exactly the problems that you're describing. I'm just imagining guys who were in that firm then they're still in it, and they're all
Yeah.
retiring. So, yeah,
It's
you've
a-
got some interesting. You're
It's a
gonna have some
changing,
bumpy roads ahead of you.
Yeah.
It's gonna be navigating that's gonna be challenging.
yeah. We've transitioned the first business already, so half the business has already transitioned to the next generation successfully, which has been good, but it's all been years of relationship building. But I think at the end of the day, the struggles have been there with the male-dominated field, and they're not going to go away. And you have to just, this sounds callous, you have to just stop caring. I mean, at some point I cared so much about that. I cared about proving myself, but you know what that feeds? Your ego. You just care so much about, I want you to know exactly how much I know. I need you to know how smart I am. I need you to know all my accolades. Well, that really drives you into not, you just have to be who you are. And some people are going to love you and want to work with you, and some people won't. And you have to just stop caring about it. And that's the only way I've been able to tackle that mentally and still be able to grow the practice. And just know that you're not going to win
You gotta learn
all
how
the
to laugh at
battles.
yourself, too.
Right? And don't take yourself too
Yeah.
seriously. There's so many people in this field that take themselves so seriously.
That's why I always say, I'm just fat, dumb, and happy.
Yeah.
Whatever. Then you've kind of blown them away by saying something like, how do you know that? Type of thing. So, this is awesome.
Cool.
Good
Well,
stuff.
yeah. Thank you for having me.
One more question.
Sure, yeah, shoot.
Do you feel like you're in a position where, God forbid, but if you had to, unexpectedly leave the business, or you had to stop doing what you're doing, are you in a position where you feel like if you left, the business could function in a very efficient way, to the point where it'd be like doing the same thing, because you've been trying to, get everybody to have this, this happy type of environment and stuff. And
Right. I think the business would change. I don't think it would die without me. I think it would have to go through some growing pains, and they'd have to find another CFP to take everything over, but I'm replaceable. Everybody's replaceable. my mission vision would probably go away, but it would be replaced by someone else's. We'd probably lose clients because it is a relationship-oriented business. But if you have the right person coming back in, it's probably doable. I mean, it happens. But you probably lose 30-40% of your client base in something like that. And that's why we need more CFPs, because we need to build teams where there's multiple levels of relationships going on, so that if one key person does get misplaced, that the firm doesn't go under. And I try to, on a personal level on that question, and it wasn't part of it, but I'm gonna say it anyway, I try to not tie my personal identity too much to this business either. Because if something were to happen where I had to get taken away, and with entrepreneurship, this is a problem, is this becomes your baby, it becomes who you are, it's your identity, it is who makes me tick. Well, there's a chance it could be taken away from you tomorrow. How are you gonna react if it's gone? Well, if you're gonna react and your whole life's gonna be over and you're gonna be depressive and you're gonna jump off the Narrows Bridge, you need to recalculate something within yourself and make sure your happiness is coming from within and not from the business. And that isn't, and I only say that because that's an entrepreneurship problem, is that you become so identified with who, and I have been for a long time, and I'm trying to work to saying, okay, well, tomorrow if something happened to the practice, I'm still gonna be Allie, I'm still gonna be happy, I'll move on and do something else, with my drive. And so I think it could happen both ways. I think the business would still be okay, and I think I would be too. Yeah. Cool.